would you introduce yourself? Tell us your name and DOC number.
Edmond Stacker, number 453712.
Yes, sir. All right. So, Mr. Stacker, let me introduce the panel to you. My name is Cheryl Renatza. Mr. Steve Prater is seated to my left, and Mr. Chucky Tillis is seated to my right. Let me recognize the guests we have with us today. In support, we have the Parole Project, Mr. Kerry Myers. We have Melody Stacker, your sister, and Terrence Wynn, all of whom will be speaking on your behalf, and we'll call on them at the appropriate time to do so. And that we also have a representative from the DA's office in Jefferson, Mr. Randy Meyer, and he'll be speaking to close it out for us at the end. First, let me read some identifying information into the record, Mr. Stacker, and then I'm going to take the lead on the interview because your case has been assigned to me. Once we've finished our questions, we'll hear from the warden, and then we'll hear from the folks that have want to speak on your behalf. We'll ask you if you have a statement to make, and then we'll let the DA's office close it out for us, okay? Ready? Mr. Stacker, you're classified as a second felony offender. You're currently serving a 50-year sentence for attempted second-degree murder in Jefferson Parish. Your parole eligibility date was October 5th, 2021. Good time date is August 7th, 2043. Does all that information sound correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So, okay. So, Mr. Stacker, how old are you, sir?
Yes,
And how long have you been in jail?
22 years.
So you served 22 years of your 50-year sentence.
Ma'am.
So you were, how old were you when this crime occurred?
28.
And so why don't you tell us what happened? Why are you in jail?
A lot of drinking and a fight ensued. Ma'am?
No, I didn't say anything. I want to know what happened the night of this crime.
Right. A lot of drinking, a fight ensued, and I pulled the gun and fired.
But it didn't fire, right? And then what happened?
Oh, ma'am, it was on safety. It was on safety.
Then what happened?
I made a statement that said I could have shot you, and I walked away. And as I was shutting the door, it was like pushed open. And I went in panic mode. It was a cowardly move. I went in panic mode and pushed the door all the way open. And I chased the victim, and he turned around. We started fighting, and I shot him.
Well, I got the, I have the record, and the you got the chase part right.
Mm-hmm.
But what I gleaned from what I read was the victim was trying to resolve an argument between you and somebody else. And then you pulled a gun and you pulled the trigger, but it didn't fire. You went home to fix the gun. Then you went back. Then you shot the victim in the mouth, and then you chased him and shot at him numerous more times. Does that sound familiar?
The part about shooting him in the mouth, yes, ma'am. But the pursuit and firing, no, ma'am.
And you didn't go home to fix the gun?
So I went in the apartment to shut the door because the gun was on safety. I didn't. My intention wasn't to shoot. But when the door came open, I panicked and I ran out, and I took it off safety and I shot him. I own up to that. I did it. I did do it.
But you pointed it at him before and tried to fire it, but it was on safety.
Yes, it was on safety. I put it on safety.
Why would you have a gun if you're not going to intend to shoot it? So, okay, so we know what happened. Let's get to your record. I notice you have 270 days of good time credits. Tell us about, I know that's program completions. Which of those programs that you earned those 270 days for, which one did you get the most out of?
Victim impact. I learned a lot.
Okay.
It teaches you to, even though you're suffering and going through years of incarceration, we were not the victims. The victims are the people we did the crime against. And it helps you to understand that they the ones that you really halted their life, harmed them and their families. It's more than just them, it's the family members, your family members, you affected a lot of people. Well, I affected a lot of people with my silly act of violence. I affected a lot of lives.
When did you take that victim impact class?
I took that one here, that was the last one. I took that one at Allen Correction Center.
So, and you've been there how long?
Since,
A little over about a year, almost a year.
yes, ma'am.
And where were you before that, before Allen? Let's see.
They sent me to
Raymond.
Yeah, the
Raymond.
board.
And then you were in Angola for a little while. I noticed when I look at your record, you've been in and out of the hospital. You have medical issues?
I had a massive heart attack in 2020. And it left me on multiple medications, and I have to keep nitroglycerin in case it worsens. So that pretty much limit my ability to do a lot of physical things, but as far as work goes, I still could do a lot. It's just not too much so in the heat, because the medications I take, it like the skin fire basically.
So do you have a job?
Yes, ma'am.
What do you do?
I'm a dorm orderly, and I assist with the elderly, and I live in like a elderly dorm, and I push them to the hospital, push them to the child and things like that. Do a lot of cleaning, take the laundry, multiple things.
So let's talk about your conduct record. What's that look like?
Pretty much outside of having a duty status that stipulates I don't go in the field, pretty much, basically that's the only thing I've been getting wrote up for. Until my medical records catch up with me, they do their protocol. If you can't work, then they have to write you up. But once I present the situation, they don't lock me up. They don't put me in the dungeon. They just may write me up. And I have a grievance I filed at both institutions, and it stipulates out of field on there. But they never took the write-ups out of my jacket, but they never locked me up or put me in the dungeon or nothing like that.
So the last one was in 2022.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, where was that at? Where were you?
I was at Cottonport.
Right.
Yes, ma'am.
So you got 2 in 2022 for work offense.
Yes, ma'am.
And so, and one was in February and one was in November. So it took them that long to get your medical record?
Yes, ma'am. And they answered the grievance. I have the grievance with me. And in the grievance, they like, okay, you have out of field duty status, it's stipulated. But they never removed the write-ups out of my jacket.
All right. When did you learn you were parole eligible?
October the 21st. It was like 3 weeks after I became eligible. They sent me a letter saying, well, you're eligible for parole and you need a free release. So I was like, okay, let's get it started. But the next month they moved to Cottonport. When I got to Cottonport, I got in a free release program and completed that, anger management. I took substance abuse in Angola. I took Thinking for a Change, which is living in balance. I took that in Angola. A bunch of religious-based programs I completed, but you don't get good time credits because you only get like 350 or something like that.
So I guess what I'm getting at is the record at least reflects that you didn't start working on these self-help programs until you learned you were parole eligible. That's what it looks like to me.
Yes, ma'am. Except the drug abuse and the religious-based programs, I took those. Even at the time, it was like I'm exhausting all my court remedies, and it felt like I had no hope. But I never got like violent and fighting and getting into security. I don't have none of that kind of stuff. I never went like that. It just was mainly trying to maintain and study going to court till you get denied at each level. So I had no hope until the laws changed. And I was like, okay, finally have hope. And I just jumped into programs and poured all my energy into positive things. I've pretty much been positive the whole while I was there. That's why I have not one fight, not one act of violence against security inmates, nobody in the whole 22 years. Because I'm a peacekeeper. I would rather keep the peace and get along opposed to just ruckus and everything that's sending to prison.
Why
That's
does your
supposed-
record say you have no history of substance abuse?
I have no idea, but I have my certificate.
For a chemical dependency program you took, I saw that, but then I did see where it says you had no history of substance abuse, which would seem as though you might have reported that to somebody, that you didn't have a drug problem.
Never had, ma'am, never have.
Never had a drug problem?
Okay.
So the night this attempted murder occurred, there were no drugs involved?
No, just alcohol. Just alcohol, partying.
So you have a substance abuse problem, it's just not drugs, it's alcohol.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, I'm just gonna sit back and listen. Do my colleagues have any other questions?
How long were you at Angola?
19 years, 19 or 20 years.
Thank you. You have many problems there?
As
Why?
far as, sir,
You had many problems when you were there? Breaking the rules or violating any of the rules?
yeah, I had like basically work offenses, that's about it. You do multiple jobs and it's never enough, but you sentenced to hard labor, so you do as much as you could. And all the extras, you either do them or you don't. But you try to play by the rules as much as possible because the cells and dungeons, that only make the time harder.
Do you feel now that where you are now, you're in a better position and you're on a road of trying to do what's correct?
Yes, sir. I have hope. I have something to strive for, to get better, to live life again, possibly. It's a totally different world.
Good, thank you.
How old were you when this shooting occurred?
28, sir.
Okay, that's kind of a late bloomer. Usually we see people involved in shootings that in their teens and early 20s. And you get to be 28. Why do you think that was?
Well, as a truck driver, I'm not blaming it on that. It just was coming home and try to enjoy 1.5 days of home. And I just made a horrible decision. That isolated incident haunt me to this day. I regret it. I wish I could take it back, but it happened. And my world changed, the victim world changed, his family world changed. Stupid decision.
Yes.
Very stupid.
Okay, that's all I had.
Warden Thompson, what can you tell us about Mr. Stacker?
From the second I talked just on yesterday, and I mean, the best advice I could pretty much give to them, just continue out to try to seek any type of self-help classes. There's always room for improvement. There's a class here that we have to conduct here, which is the boys and men class, which would be some good for them guys to get involved in.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, sir. All right, let's hear from the support now. Could we hear from Mr. Myers with the Parole Project?
Yes, good morning. Kerry Myers with the Louisiana Parole Project. Parole Project has committed to support Mr. Stacker should this board grant him a release. Our program is designed to help him through this transition, particularly someone who has served more than 20 years of incarceration. Our program will provide him with a case manager who will be his mentor, and he will also go through programming that includes the things that have significantly changed since his incarceration, like technology, financial literacy and financial management, social norms, consumer skills, the things that he would need. Mr. Stacker does have a support system. He has a long-term residence plan with his sister. He has an employment plan. Parole Project will provide him case management at a minimum of 1 year. And again, should this board decide to grant Mr. Stacker based on his age, he's highly unlikely to make the same decisions he made 22 years ago. He's completed the chemical dependency program. We have confidence that he'll and we'll make sure through evaluation that his sobriety is a priority to him. And so we just ask this board to consider that in your review today.
Thank you. We'd like to hear from Ms. Melody Stacker. You're still on mute?
Yeah, good morning. Hi, my name is Melody Stacker. I'm Edmond Stacker's sister. This has been a long journey, hard time for the family, but through it all, we are a religious family and we support him 100%. My mom didn't make it, she's died, so I had to carry on for my mom. And I think he'll do well. He looks like a change. He never really was a troubled person. He was quiet and a hard-working man. But that situation turned real ugly, real bad, real quick. And I think everybody has suffered the consequences, including him. We love him and we like to see him home, so I could take care of him for the rest of his days. And he just watch over me. I thank you for listening to me.
Ma'am. All right, Terrence Wynn, could we hear from you, sir?
Hello, once again. I know Mr. Stacker. He's like you say, he's a real peaceful
Mr.
person.
Wynn, Mr. Wynn, we need you to pull over and stop recording.
Yes, ma'am.
You're gonna talk to us.
Okay. Okay. Yes, I know Mr. Stacker personally, and he's a real peaceful person. He's the person, like Mr. Miles said, that he would not come back to prison. And I'm here to support him any way he needs support, whether it's job or any type of support, because people coming home from prison really need support, especially what a person understands, because it's a lot of traumas that a person faces in prison. So I'm here to give him that support in any kind of way he needs. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, let me ask, Mr. Stacker, is there a statement you'd like to make before we ask the DA to close it out for us?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
The situation that happened 22 years ago, I was a grown man at 28. I regret what I did. And if I could apologize to the victim and his family, I would. I know I put them through changes. And I depend on the mercy of the board to grant me one shot. Thank you.
You, all right. Council Chair to vote?
What about?
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Meyer, I apologize. Thank you.
Yes.
Would you close it out for us? I apologize.
No problem. Yeah, I caught it. Randy Meyer, Assistant DA in Jefferson Parish. And our office is opposed to his request at this time. One reason is that it doesn't appear that he's being honest with the board as to what happened with the facts of the situation. The facts that were brought out in trial is that he put his hands on his neighbor, Dina Noyle. She told her brother about it, and he came over to have a discussion with Mr. Stacker. They spoke. Mr. Stacker got rowdy, pulled out a pistol, aimed it at Singleton, and pulled the trigger, but the gun didn't fire. He then went to his apartment, fixed the gun, fired 2 shots inside the apartment, and then exited the apartment, which was across the alleyway from Dina's apartment, had his gun in his hand, got into a fight with Singleton, and shot him in the mouth. Singleton then fled to his sister's apartment, and Dina told Mr. Stacker that don't shoot him, and he was shooting at him as they chased. She told him that there were children in the apartment. Please don't shoot in there. And he continued to fire. He fired 2 shots into the apartment, and Dina Knowles discovered one of the bullets on the floor of their home a few days later. It's a little bit different from the facts that he told the board, the parole committee, what occurred. So now let's look at what he's done since he's been incarcerated. He's had 64 write-ups since 2002. He's had one every year except 2017. And then in November of 22 was his last disciplinary report. So he had none in 23 and none so far in 2024. A whole lot of his write-ups were for contraband and aggravated work offenses. He had 13 aggravated work offenses since 2015. It's concerning with the number of disciplinary reports and how long he's had them. I truly would like to see people who get granted or considered for parole to have a longer time period following the rules before they're released. Also have concern with his programming. I think it's very limited. He's the only program he's taken that we have a record of was chemical dependency in 2004, up until he got knowledge of his parole eligibility. In 22, he took 100 hours in anger management in 2022. I think additional programming would benefit him substantially before he would be released, and would give him a much better opportunity of following the rules and staying crime-free once he is released. So until he completes additional programming, which I think some additional substance abuse classes would also be beneficial. It's been 2024, so 20 years since he's had any kind of substance abuse classes. So without those additional programming and more time right up free, we will remain opposed to his request.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, I think I'll move for an executive session to discuss confidential matters. Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, in the roll call?
Cheryl Lawson,
Yes.
Steve Prater,
Yes.
Chuck Pitts.
Yes.
Yes, so we'll be in executive session for a few moments to discuss confidential matters. We'll be right back, Mr. Stacker. All right, Mr. Stacker, we're back in session. Oh, and we're ready to vote. And I'll go first. I worry about your desire to change, because you didn't start really working hard on yourself till you knew you might have hope to get out. And so, for me, that's I wonder if you're really sincere about it. I mean, I know you want to get out, but for us, it's about you getting out and staying out. And I would have liked to have seen a longer period of you working on yourself. I heard what the warden said about the Boys to Men program may be of some benefit to you. Are you familiar with that program?
Yes, ma'am.
How long is that program, Warden?
You have 6 different phases to it. So technically speaking, you're looking at least about 6 months of a course.
Okay. All right. And do you have a substance abuse program there at Allen?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
All right. Mr. Stacker,
Yes, ma'am.
I would be willing to give you a shot to grant you parole after you complete the Boys to Men program that was recommended by the warden. Also complete whatever the substance abuse program is that is offered at Allen.
Yes, ma'am.
And then, only then, after successful completion of those programs, and you remain right up free for all that time, parole you to the parole project to go through their transition program. And we know their program, so I know they're gonna ask for, you're gonna have to have a substance abuse evaluation, and you're gonna have to do whatever they tell you to do. And they're gonna follow you long term.
Mm.
What is your employment plan? Whenever you're released, what you gonna do? You're still young enough to work, what you gonna do?
The parole project, they have a program to help me get renew my CDLs and back to driving trucks. That's where the money is.
So that's a big truck you're talking about, not like a hot shot truck, a big truck.
Tractor trailer.
All right, I'm gonna add special condition after release that you attend 3 AA meetings a week. And we'll work with the parole project on another condition to be sure you maintain your sobriety once you get back to start to driving trucks.
Yes, ma'am.
Figure that out. I had wanted to put an interlock device, which is the thing you blow in, to be sure you're not drinking, but if you're driving a commercial truck, I don't think that'll work. So I'm gonna reserve that. I'll find something. That's my vote. Mr. Prater.
I
Yes, ma'am.
concur. I concur and wish you well. Hope you do well. I think you will. You're on the right track.
Mr. Tillins.
I hope that you're sincere and the drug or the alcohol is serious. And I think you've done 22 years so far.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And I think you're capable of doing another 22 years, but I think you need a chance. And I agree with my colleagues.
All right, Mr. Stacker, it's up to you.
Excuse me, Ms. Renasta.
Yes.
An option other than the interlock device would be a scram bracelet for the alcohol.
All right, I'll add that as a special condition also. Thank you, Mr. Meyer. I appreciate it. So we're gonna add that, a scram bracelet that'll detect alcohol if you have any in your system. So good luck to you, Mr. Stacker.
Thank you.